A second time, a group of trapped ponies endeavored to reach an exit, before a cruel and unfeeling monster shut them in. Her power, however, was weak, enough to be overcome by a bullet or a pulse of magic. This assessment crushed Applejack's fear, which had been replaced with an adherent desire for revenge. Her breaths intensified, her teeth gnashed together in rage, and she shook under the boiling force of anger. The shadows did not deter her steps as she led the group deeper into the complex. Trailing behind were the broken and sad remains of 4 mares whose lives were once enriched by the musings of that pink pony. Each held a guilty heart, replaying in their head the agonizing question, what could I have done? Perhaps there was no right answer, or perhaps they betrayed their best friendship, supposedly shared between them. Perhaps they failed Pinkie Pie, creating a soul lamenting the severed bonds of their relationship. Fluttershy, in particular, so gentle and kind, nearly collapsed under this prospect, that the ultimate act of malice is treason, abandonment. Celeste did her best to hide the sorrow she too experienced, but with limited success. The fruit of her sins had claimed too many. Regret overtook the Alicorn. Few situations compelled her to reevaluate whether she should be wearing the crown or not. Fewer still made her seriously consider abdication. The suffering grew to be too much for Dr. Antlion. He had watched 2 ponies die already, and already the group was stretched to their tolerance limits. He understood why Applejack was moving forward, and the doctor knew it probably wasn't ideal to interrupt a mare on a mission. It required him to summon all his courage and audacity to say something. Applejack, stop! He wanted to take it back as soon as the farm pony turned around, her look directed at him for the moment. I don't think it's wise. What's not wise? She asked, approaching Antlion with an intimidating manner. To proceed to the next exit. What? Why not? Do you not want us to get out of here? She yelled. No, I mean, of course I want to leave. But there must be some other way. You mean another exit? She snatched the map from Vixen and looked it over. This way's the closest one, and the only remaining one after that is on the other side of the lab. I ain't gonna risk putting my friends in any more danger. Now y'all are welcome to go that way, Doc, but I'm going this way. Don't you see? That's where she wants us to go. Are you saying that Chrissy ain't no mindless killer? 'Cause y'all got a lot of evidence stacked against you. She smashed the main entrance. Over there, where we just came from, she broke that one too. Her actions are deliberate. She knew we would go this way, because it's the closest. She ain't planning. She's just hungry, like an animal. She'd eat us all if we didn't scare her off. Applejack was growing quite tired of listening to this stallion defend the changeling. No, she's waiting. Chrysalis could have killed us all if she wanted to, but she doesn't. She's biding her time. We're just pawns in her scheme. I don't know why she's doing all this, but I know when we get to the 3rd exit, she'll be right there and destroy the door, probably killing some of us in the process. I don't want any pony to die. You must listen. What I'm hearing, Doctor, is a lot of speculation. I know it must seem that way, but she must be. Antlion slowed his speech, thinking for a few seconds. Feeding on emotion. That's it. Twilight, you said she claimed to feed on love, right? Uh-huh. I thought it gave the Changelings strength, the Lavender Mare replied. Yeah, so what if not only love, but all emotions, could sustain her? Y'all ain't giving me any reason to care. In case you haven't noticed, I'm not one to wish to understand the mind of a monster. I'd rather just shoot it. Okay, hold on. Hey, scientists! He called over the 3 surviving doctors. Did you see if Chrysalis gained, say, magical energy from emotion? They all thought for a bit. The female one responded, Now that you mention it, I think we did a study on that. A lot of us were scared of her. So, I think that fear gave her power. That's why she's waiting. She wants to gather up power. Alright, I see your point. But what does she need the power for? Antlion's shroud of confidence disappeared. I have no idea. Well, you tried. Now you're trapped. I want to run into her again and pull a bullet straight into her skull. Is that okay? We should go to the other exit. Fuck that. Well, this way is closer. But she knows we're going that way. Alright, let's put it to a vote. Every pony who thinks we should go into the long halls of this lab on the idea that Chrysalis might not be waiting or following us and spending more time in this hellhole, raise y'all hooves. Only Antlion raised his hoof. Celestia would have, but her status as Patriarch would only be worsened. And any pony who trusts in me, the element of honesty, to get us the shorter way in one piece, raise y'all hooves now. The rest of the group voted for Applejack's proposal. Twilight gave Antlion a look of sympathy. Looks like we're going this way. Any pony who don't want to come can go wherever the hell they want. No pony objected, though the doctor did grumble, readying his rifle. He could at least make peace with Applejack, and offer to help anyway. The party moved through the remaining corridors, always alert and suspicious of sounds, but to their relief, nothing. About 10 yards away was a door marked Specimen Containment. As Applejack came to it, she noticed it was locked. Rolling her eyes, she turned around and bucked the door off its hinges, causing the metal slab to fly a few feet behind the doorframe. Chairpony Vixen took this opportunity to explain their whereabouts. This is the Specimen Containment Center. It's actually one of the larger sections of the compound. The exit should be further up ahead, to the left, and to the right. Good to know, Applejack replied. The opening area of the center was full of tables, computers, microscopes, and other lab equipment. There were bloodstains on some of the objects, and the whole room radiated an uneasy vibe. Nevertheless, the group of 11 ponies continued. The black creature sat there, on her haunches, hanging over the cold, lifeless body of a pink mare. She ran her hoof down the pony's length, caressing her curls and examining the haphazard nature of her mane. The balloons on her flank almost filled Chrysalis with a sense of joy, or the closest thing she could ever experience. Every pony the Changeling Queen had consumed, she loathed her actions. She was a prisoner of her bestial mind, forced to devour the innocent to sustain her putrid form. But this time was different. The pink filly was harmless, gentle, serene. She heard about this one's exploits while in Canterlot, disguised as that loving alicorn. Pinkie Pie always brought joy and laughter to the pony she met, that being wanted nothing more than to make every pony smile. And Chrysalis removed her from the world. Such an innocent creature, snatched from life for a petty purpose. The shelled monster could find no outlet for the grief and torment that stabbed her heart, other than to weep tears of true, eternal sincerity. Chrysalis hated life, and the ponies responsible for her state, but she hated nothing more in the entire play of existence than her own self. A saline drops soaked the corpse. The changeling levitated it towards her mouth and began whipping away the flesh. The meat tasted so good, but was drenched in guilt. When the dark deed was complete, Chrysalis's horn flashed, and her form changed as the cells of her body shifted and changed, making her smaller. A final ring of green fire dissipated as the magic veil was cast. In this form, Chrysalis felt normal. The shape felt somehow right. Often, when she was overcome with guilt and loneliness, the changeling would assume this guise and cry herself to sleep. Her children could never understand why, or even what she was doing, and the pain only became worse. This time was no different, and in the specimen containment center, the queen of a race now dead wailed, waiting for the right time to commit her final act, and then exit the stage. Perhaps hellfires would keep her warm. Deeper and deeper into the containment area, the group walked slowly, ever vigilant for any signs of movement. So far, nothing had caught their attention. Medical tools and desks were all that filled the halls. Another corner came, and this time, something interesting came up. A large room, white room, with a very sterile atmosphere, and signs of dried blood along the walls. Applejack leading, the party proceeded inside, clenching their weapons like the lifesavers they were. At first, there were no indications of where the blood came from, presumably from a pony unfortunate to be trapped here. However, Twilight noticed a small object on the other side of the room. She stepped closer. Applejack followed close behind. The studious mare then saw a shattered glass vessel, almost like the tanks housing the Kalabuli. Looking closer, she grabbed at what lay inside the tank. A small, almost pony-like body, very, very similar to the Kabalui. But this one was clearly outside of suspension. It possessed several dark shapes outside its body, like organs of some kind. There were visible cuts, likely from the broken glass, and blood leaked out. Twilight poked it with the end of her axe, and its soft skin dented inwards. Applejack came equally inspective of it, and finally raised her head. Turning to face Twilight, she asked, "Is that what I think it is, Twi?" Ominously, the lavender unicorn took a deep breath and replied, "I think so." Rarity noticed the two were looking at something. "What is it? What did you find?" Twilight turned to Rarity's direction. "It's a fetus." What? "A fetus. A baby pony. Or rather, it would have been." Celestia began to step back, a futile attempt to avoid notice. "Surely it's not. I mean, they use those magic things here, right?" "No. It's clearly a fetus. Right? Celestia? What the fuck is going on here?" This time, Dr. Antlion spoke up. "Because Chrysalis ate all the others, and left one. So we discover what the Kabaluli really are." Why are you using actual ponies for your perverted experiments?" Celestia closed her eyes and bowed her head. "Damn it! Answer me!" The element of magic's horn was glowing, threatening the princess. Because why? Twilight's horn grew brighter and brighter. Celestia finally snapped. You can't bring magic to life. It doesn't work. We tried long ago, but magic can only animate things. They have no life. We needed to use fetuses. We were going to cure all diseases and create a world without weakness. You disapprove, Twilight. The ruler of the sun's eyes began to glow a fiery white. Your short-sighted minds cannot accept the necessity of sacrifice. Sacrifice? Using unborn ponies to create a weapon, a biological weapon, forcing a living creature to become a tool of destruction. Is this the sacrifice you speak of? Dr. Antlion shouted. Where'd y'all get these fetuses from, anyhow? Applejack demanded, pointing her gun at Celestia. The princess calmed down, her surge of power leaving. She knelt down and began to cry. I'm so sorry. You're right. There was nothing ethical or justified about my or any pony else's actions. We took them from clinics. It is a dark truth. I realize now, though, Twilight, nothing is worth this. All my actions have done is create a monster that has killed so many. She swung her hoof and knocked down her crown. I deserve not the throne. I have caused my ponies far too much harm. Your animosity is understood, and I hope you never forgive me. Applejack was shaking, and rage filled her voice. You're damn right I'll never forgive you. This little experiment of yours done took Pinkie Pie. I say fuck ya, princess. Cocking her shotgun, she slightly relaxed her angry expression. But we ain't gonna survive here if we don't work together. There'll be time enough to point hooves after the changeling is dead. Now get up, and every pony come on. The X is just ahead. A few minutes later, the party was caught off guard by the sound of crying. Every pony tensed up and crept forward, prepared to face whatever was there. The voice sounded like a pony, but maybe that's what Chrysalis wanted them to believe. Slowly stepping towards another hall, a shadow was visible, laying on its backside, head hunched over, forelimbs up at its face. Behind the shape was the door, or what was left of it. It was broken, just like the other previous two. Damn it, Applejack thought, silently stopping her hooves. Nevertheless, they moved closer to whatever was there. It didn't seem to notice them, as if indifferent to the world. It just sat there, weeping. Then suddenly, as if something stirred its interest, it stopped, perked up its head, and glared straight at Twilight. It came closer towards them, and stopped in the light of an overhead lamp. The creature standing before the 11 ponies was a tall, slender mare with white, almost pure fur. Her mane was pink, as was her tail. The two large eyes staring at them were magenta. Her flank was devoid of a cutie mark, but it was hard to discern from the large wings folded against her back. Curiously, though, a long white horn jutted up from her forehead. She was clearly an alicorn, and that fact alone aroused suspicion. Dr. Antlion first threatened the pony. Get back, Chrysalis. We know it's you. The alicorn blinked, and then smiled. Then for the first time, during the whole ordeal, Chrysalis replied, You see through my disguise. I commend you. Skip the bullshit. Ready, every pony? He counted to 3, and at once the guns were fired and the melee weapons were swung. But before anything hit, a green bubble flashed, causing the objects to stop dead in their tracks. Unsure what was going on, Rainbow Dash swung her metal pipe again. Still the same result. Again the pipe met with green magic. I am afraid you cannot harm me. Every pony, except Celestia. Celestia couldn't use her magic, however, because she was too distracted by the alicorn she saw before her. It seemed so familiar, and she felt uneasy about hurting it. Your trance is expected. Why can't we hurt you? A flustered Rainbow cried out. I have summoned a force field. Only the most powerful of magic can dissipate it, and not even the Lavender one can muster the strength. Applejack gritted her teeth and lashed out at Chrysalis, banging on the bubble. Why are you killing every pony? You took Pinkie Pie. You better hope that force field don't break, 'cause I'm gonna tear you limb from limb, you monster. Why do you lament me killing ponies for sustenance, while you kill my offspring simply because they existed? The spilled blood of changelings could drown all those I've taken, but no pony cares. Never have, never will. But I understand. And now my blood, my brood has died. There are none left. She faced the doctor. You. I remember you. We have never met. We have. You found 2 of my babies before they died of hunger. Meat was scarce, and there was no emotion to grant them power. I saw all the swarm saw. I was everywhere they were. I was the swarm. Twilight was tired of listening to whatever ramblings the disguised beast was spouting. Enough! I'm sorry ponies killed your kids, but that doesn't mean you can't take out your anger on innocent ponies. I kill because I must. I came to Canterlot to stop the ruthless slaughter of my hive. For nearly 20 years, I have endured this. I felt every year the fire consumed them, the blades cutting them, the pain and suffering. I wanted it to stop. But such goals are unnecessary now. The swarm is gone, and soon I shall be too. I am dying. The proteins that grant me my abilities are now unstable. An unforeseen event. I am decaying. Green fire formed around her body. A large, tall black creature with large insect-like wings, gnarled horn, and teal webbing mane stood, her back covered in an iridescent carapace. She held up a perforated hoof, tattered and cracking, with strings of flesh falling off. My entire body will soon fall apart, and I will be powerless to stop it. But meat can keep me alive long enough. Her voice was noticeably different, now having an echo, as if multiple ponies were speaking at once. Long enough for what? Rarity struggled to say. She smiled, baring her fangs, and looking at Celestia. I'm afraid that will have to wait. Her force field began flashing, and was lowering. Chrysalis noticed this, and quickly leapt into action. Her carapace split open at 2 points, and a tentacle came from each hole. They grabbed 2 ponies, one old scientist, and the other, the white unicorn with a purple mane. Lightning fast, Chrysalis galloped as fast as she could down the hall, dragging them away. Before she was lost in the darkness, Applejack was able to blast off her hind leg. The group of 9 ran as fast as they could, as well to try and catch them. The screaming of Rarity empowered Rainbow Dash to fly under the influence of adrenaline. A voice called out. The Cyan Pegasus instantly recognized it as Rarity. Under a lamp in the hall, the white mare was laying on the floor, with what looked like a broken leg. Rainbow Dash picked her up and gave her a deep embrace. The rest followed, as cheers of joy sprinkled the gritted floor. "Are you okay, Sugar Cube?" asked Applejack. "Yes, I'm fine. Just, ow. Sprained leg. I'll fix you up." Fluttershy opened up her first aid kit and wrapped the leg as best she could. "Where's the stallion?" "I'm afraid he didn't make it. I managed to wiggle myself free, but he wasn't so lucky. Chrysalis has gone deeper into the lab." "Damn it! We had her!" cursed an angry Twilight. "Looks like we have no choice but to use the last exit," Applejack conceded. "It's this way," said Chair Pony Vixen. "Yes, just let me..." Rarity tried limping along, and was propped up by Fluttershy. "Thank you, darling." The yellow Pegasus smiled. She glanced at Rarity, and noticed something off. Her skin wasn't as warm or soft, and the fur wasn't quite as it should have felt. But Fluttershy didn't think much of it, and decided it was more important to help her friend through the halls as they made their way out. The group now continued on the new corridor, stretching far down to the other side of the complex. Somewhere, through the twists and turns, Chrysalis would be hunting them. And that's exactly what they wanted.